DJ says, okay, let's talk big picture here, Richie, for a minute. This was our last topic anyway, so it fits in well with the super chat. Again, CJ, appreciate the support. FSU cares more about Mike more than the standard or the fans. Cares about Mike more than the standard or the fans. Richie, a lot of ways we can go with this. As I see my buddy Aaron just commented too down there. Aaron gave away a couple of tickets. So appreciate Aaron for hooking a couple of fans up with tickets to the game this weekend. I wanted to mention that before we went too far. As happy as I think I was with the performance by FSU's players, Richie, is it fair to say that what you do against the 80th ranked team in the country when it comes to S&P Plus or any of these advanced analytics, is it fair to say that like what you do against an awful opponent that gets blown out by Old Dominion and doesn't have a coach should not impact whether or not you keep or lose your job? Well, I guess if you lost to them, it should, impact whether or not you lose your job. But my thoughts just on where Florida State is as a program has not changed because of the Virginia Tech game. Now, I'm glad they won for the players and Ethan and the fans that went and showed out last night. So, that's fine to go down that route. But my thoughts on where this program is in general have not changed. And a lot of people give us grief for that. It's a very small minority that get upset that we are not happy with where this program is in general. But I think we both care about the program too much to just let it wallow in mediocrity. So again, to phrase the question again, I don't care that they beat Virginia Tech. That has not changed my opinion of where we're at overall. Campuscourse.com. You can use our code. I'm wearing a Campus Course shirt right now. Go check them out. DFNS20 will save you 20%. I know that some of you are holiday shopping. They've got a deal right now for just about $100. You can get a shirt and this hat. You can also use their site-wide 15% off discount, and you can stack it. Use our code DFNS20 if you're getting 25, DFNS25 if you're getting 2 items or more. I know you guys are doing Black Friday shopping. I know you guys are doing holiday shopping. Their Black Friday sale is already live. And again, I just love the attention to detail on stuff like this, like the little Seminoles that's printed on the inside of the hat. I love the way that this is, I don't even know what you call that. Like, yeah, sticks out a little bit. Like, this is an elite hat. I've got Richie's and Harlan's like right here sitting next to me. And my goal is to get those out before I leave for Raleigh on Thursday. So we'll see, but it's for Christmas. So you guys, you'll be fine if you don't get it this week, but I'm doing my very best to get it out. Very best meaning I need to go up to the post office and do it, but appreciate Campus Course for their support.
Yeah. I think we're on the same page here. Beating a horrible, when you talk about Power 4 conference teams, should not save your job. Like, you beat Virginia Tech and I think it's 88th actually
worse
in the SP Plus. But like beating the 88th best team in the country when there's only 60 some Power 4 conference teams. So you're talking about group of fives and FCF teams that are ranked way ahead of Virginia Tech. No, that should not save your job. I think that Mike Alford dropped the ball, and he's a friend of the program. He's been on here multiple times. He's done both of us favors in the past, but I still question what is he thinking in terms of keeping Norvell, because now if you go and beat NC State and then say you go into the swamp and beat Florida, your hands are tied at that point to where you have to keep Norvell. And I do not want that. And I like Mike Norvell too. I've met him several times and he's been nothing but good to me and my wife. However, again, there is a standard at Florida State, and it feels like we are lowering that standard right now. And that's a bad place to be when you feel like you're okay lowering that standard, because beating a Virginia Tech team the way you should, and it could have been by more, honestly, that in no way whatsoever should be a job saver. Beating a team that's that bad. And if that's going to be a job saver, then the standard is not the standard anymore at Florida State. And that has been made painfully obvious. And I guess we'll see in 2.5 weeks or so if Mike Norvell is still employed or not. But yeah, the win against Virginia Tech, like we mentioned, it was enjoyable. It was nice to have a fun game where the second half we were pretty much just coasting. But if that game saves his job, I don't know what to say. I'll always be a Florida State fan. I'm not going to say I'm done with this program, but I would have serious questions about the people, the decision makers in charge. I'll leave it at that.
We get a lot of comments about Bobby. I saw a comment that said, Florida State fans or we would fire Bobby if this was our standard or expectation. I do just want to point something out. When Bobby Bowden took over, Florida State won one game the year before he got here. In Bobby's first year, with zero expectations, obviously the program had not been built to the standard that it is. Bobby went 5-6. The very next year, they went 10-2. The very next year, they had 3 losses. The very next year, they had 2 losses. I'm sorry, 1 loss. The very next year, they had 2 losses. The next year, they did go 6-5, so they had a rough year in 1981. The next year, they had 2 losses. The next year, they had 3 losses. Bobby, and if you go look those up, they were almost always to either UF or a ranked opponent. I think 3 of the losses in all the years that I just mentioned, minus the 5 loss and the 6 loss season, were to ranked opponents or UF, who was a much better program at the time in the 70s and 80s. And so this idea of like, oh, you would have fired Bobby. No, there was no standard. Bobby created a standard. And so, yeah, if Bobby Bowden took over right now and went 5-6, if Bobby Bowden took over right now and went 7-5, yes, we would certainly complain about that. But the standard at Florida State had not yet been created. So it's not realistic to say, oh, you guys would fire Bobby right now. Bobby took 9 years to lose as many games as Mike Norvell has in 2 seasons. And that was taking over a program that was objectively awful. Florida State was not a great program that people were coming to all over the place. So this idea of like, oh, you guys would have fired Bobby back then. Listen, I appreciate the comment just because it gave me a chance to rant a little bit. I just don't think that's really accurate. Bobby built a standard here that now is not being upheld. If Bobby would have come in and had seasons like Mike Norvell did to start out his tenure, he probably would have gotten fired. But in his second season, they lost 3 total games. In his third season, they went 10-2. Like, yeah, it's just not the same. Like, they were way better off the jump with Bobby, and then they continued to be. In the 80s and 90s, when they were traveling on the road to play teams that they had no business playing, they were winning those games. And yeah, they lost some to Miami when Miami was winning national championship after national championship. And they've lost some to Florida when they shouldn't. But Bobby built an insane standard that Jimbo, for the most part, held up. Not completely, but how many times did Jimbo win 10 games over and over and over again, or have us in BCS bowls, or have us in playoffs or national championship games? I think that is more of the thought. Like Jimbo just very much, Bobby just very much built a standard, and that's not being held up. I'm going to go back to this because I think Joe makes some good points that I do think that we should talk about. Everybody on the channel was predicting 7 or 8 wins when the season was starting, right? Like to start the year. That is right where we're at. Well, if we win the next 2 games, yes, we will get to 7 wins. If not, we are under that. We are under the 8 that was predicted. What happened? Why did the pitchforks come out? I've got a very simple answer for you there. The problem is not that they're getting to the 7 or 8 wins that we projected. The problem is that a projection at Florida State was 7 or 8 wins. The problem is that we could look at this season before it started and we could say, yeah, this staff and this program are not good enough to win more than 7 or 8 games. That's the problem. It's not the problem that Mike Norvell lived up to where we thought he would live up to this year. It's the problem that that's where we've lowered our expectation to. The fact that Florida State homers, Richie and I are absolute homers for these people. We've picked us every single week. Like every week on Wednesday night, we pick the Noles to win. We are homers. The fact that 2 homers sit here and say, yeah, Florida State's winning about 6 or 7, 8 games. That's the problem. It's not the fact that they may get to 7 wins if they go on a little bit of a run here at the end. It's the fact that we've lowered our expectation and our standards there. Ultimately, I don't feel good about the direction the program is going with its head coach. I'd love to be proven wrong. I'd love for him to never lose a game here in Tallahassee again. I just don't think that's realistic. I think at this point, he's shown you who he is. What is he like? 4 or 5 games over 500. He has a losing record if you take away the group of 5, like the wins against just awful competition like Charleston Southern and Kent State and stuff. So I don't know, Richie. I've ranted enough about Bobby in the Standard. I'll let you talk a little bit.
No, I think you're spot on. Like the fact that when our preseason show came on and we said, 8 wins would be good, 9 would be really good. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
This is Florida State University. This is a team, a program that has a record that will never be touched by anybody. 14 straight years finishing in the top 4 of the AP poll. That will never be touched. It's one of the safest records you'll ever find. And now we're sitting here talking about, well, if he goes 7-5, maybe next year he can get us up to 9-3 or maybe even 10-2 and gives a chance at the play. No, I am done. I am done. I tried to start the show off on a positive note. I was trying to be happy about how everything was going on, but I'm at the point now where I am so done with this man. Like, I am not going to another Florida State game as long as Mike Norvell is the head coach.
You're
Like,
not
I
going to
want the
Tuscaloosa for
players.
Lindsey next year?
No. I want these players to have great games, great careers, go on to the NFL. I want the local businesses to thrive. So I hope others don't have my mentality and they still go to games and they still go to places like Garnet and Gold and other local businesses. But I am just to the point where I am so done. Like even last night, and we talked about it off air a little bit, TJ. Like when we scored that first touchdown, I was almost emotionless. Like normally when Florida State scores a touchdown, I'm jumping off the couch and my wife thinks I'm a crazy guy. But I was like, cool, touchdown. The apathy has set in for me, and I think it has set in for many other Florida State fans. And if the administration doesn't realize that, it only will get worse from here. And I think that's where we're at right now. And they need to realize it.
So I think before the season, I think I predicted 6-6 was my official record. So yeah, Mike Norvell getting the problem is not, oh, well, they got to 6 or 7 wins. Why aren't you happy about it? Again, the problem is that we had to predict 6 wins at a place like Florida State. And that's ultimately
with this schedule.
I was out when the season was starting, unless they very much overachieved that, right? Like I was like, well, they're probably going to go 6-6 and we're going to find a new coach. I don't know if that's the case yet or not. But yeah, like the problem is not that they're getting to the 6 wins. It's the fact that we had to predict that before the season. You should never predict a 6-6 season at Florida State. I mean, that's simple enough, right? And we'll see. Yeah, I'll tell you this too, Richie. We talk about Virginia Tech being awful. Man, NC State is so hot and cold. They lose by 5 billion last night to Miami. I mean, NC State looked like Florida did against Kentucky 2 weeks ago. Now, maybe they look different at home. Maybe they play a little bit better
on a Friday night.
Yeah. But yeah, Friday night in the conference, I think Florida State has like 4 wins in Raleigh since 2020. They've been just terrible there. I don't know, man. I worry a little bit. I mean, Florida State could absolutely win their last 2 games. And if he goes 7-5, I bet they bring him back. I ultimately don't think that wins against teams who have quit or who do not have a coach should save someone's job. I think that once the cake has been baked, as the kids say, the kids probably don't even say that anymore, that, you kind of know what you have. I think 7-5 will give this admin an opportunity to bring him back, which I know will make that apathy set in even more.
Good luck selling that to the boosters.
Yeah.
Let me just say that.
I do think that they've got a really good chance to win the next 2 games. I'm not predicting they win the next 2 games. I probably will once we get to Wednesday, because I ain't going to predict something else with Allie on here in a week and a half. But they're a 4.5-point favorite right now at Raleigh on a Friday night, as weird as that gets. And at this moment, ESPN has them with a 50.4% chance to beat Florida on the last day of the year, or the last day of the regular season. There's a good chance. There's a decent enough chance they go 2-0 down here on the stretch, and I don't really think that should impact what their administration does or doesn't do, but it very well might.
Yeah, no, but we'll see what happens. It's just the decision should have been made by now. I think the frustrating part is that it has not been made by now. Because if you are following this program as our administration should be, as closely as they should be, then you realize Mike Norvell is not the long term answer. You're going to be paying him regardless, one way or the other. Are you willing to find an extra few million a year to pay a different coach to relieve Mike Norvell of his duties? And clearly, the answer as of right now is no. Maybe that changes by Saturday morning.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how they play down the stretch. If they win another game, I think there's a decent chance he comes back. If they win 2 games,
we're stuck.
Yeah, I think you're probably going to see it again next year. I think you're going to see the same thing. I really want to beat Florida. I'm not going to cheer against us. I don't care if they win Friday night or not. I do want to beat Florida. Like, that does mean a lot to me. And I would like to win that game in the Swamp. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to cheer for us to lose. I mean, I'm going to Raleigh. I ain't going to cheer to get pee thrown on me while I'm up there. Sorry, Hunter. But yeah, I think that there's a real chance that they bring him back, and the results of these next couple of games will probably impact that. So we will see. Just before we go, make sure that you are on the Sleeper app. All of our content this year brought to you by Sleeper. Use our code DFNS for a 100% match up to $100. We play the more or less game every Wednesday night while we're previewing Florida State's opponent. So make sure that you are on that Sleeper app. We appreciate them for their support. Go Noles.